То, что я, собственно, хотел вам показать. Обратите внимание, внутри одной плитки рисунок, декор может быть разным. Да? Здесь какие-то 3 линии, одна горизонтальная, здесь петелька, здесь какая-то наклоненная буква H, здесь еще одно переплетение. Но всегда у каждой плитки с каждой стороны будет 2 выхода. Как бы вы ее ни повернули, она обязательно состыкуется со следующей. То есть дизайнер может выплетать свою нить Ариадны столько, сколько ему хочется, заплетая в какие-то правильные дисциплинированные геометрические узоры, кольца или овалы, и расплетая ее так, как ему захочется, по своему желанию. Ну а эмоциональную сторону можно будет обдумать отдельно. What kind of text you put inside this?
Well, it was I did a show in France, a ceramic art exhibition, and it was in a museum of historic ceramic tiles. And then every year they invite a contemporary artist to make work in response to the work in the exhibition. And so I was working with certain historic tiles. I noticed that they fit together in different ways,
yes.
and then they usually fit together to make circles and things like that, you know. But then I sort of realized if I changed the design, I could switch them around to make something a bit crazier, you know, like and so I like this. The tiles are very square and formal and rigid, and then you can have a sort of
So you mean some sabotage to the ceramic tiles?
And then you get a sense of freedom, like just
sense of freedom.
And it can be, and you can switch them around, and it's almost like the tiles are like complete sanity, order, and then you can have these lines. It's a bit of rebellion. You know,
I see this. Looking at this big panel, my imagination is something like this. I look for some office people who walking, and then all together start dancing and then put to the walking.
Oh yeah.
Something like this.
Yeah.
So discipline.
Yeah.
No discipline and discipline once more time. So how do you think this?
Yeah, there's like complete sanity and order, and then sort of chaos. Like so, it's like a balance of chaos. But
the main idea is the balance.
But even the chaos, there's a sort of underlying structure behind it. But then there's a sort of freedom. But then we sort of enjoy both the structure and the freedom. You love the freedom, but then you need the structure because you can't have one thing without the other.
How do you think the soul of this style, or soul of this image, is more masculine or more female, or unisex? What kind of music is this, for example? It's a jazz. No.
Well, this is quite feminine, I think. And then
this is female.
This is a bit more masculine, but it's
more
just
masculine.
It's a mixture, yeah. I suppose the lines are quite sort of sharp and
We made after. So maybe one more question about this Chinese. Why Chinese theme? Because it's trendy to talk about Chinese. Why you?
Well, this derives from the willow pattern, which is it looks Chinese, but it's not Chinese. It's English, you know, because in the 18th century in England there was a big chinoiserie.
East Midwest.
Chinoiserie, you know, they were importing. They were importing work
So
from
they
China.
not Chinese chinoiserie. So
But
it's
then the English, they began copying the Chinese. So they made this design, which is a copy of Chinese, and it was very successful. It was even so successful that they began selling it to the Chinese. And then, but then this was, this was initially on plates, this willow pattern. But I began extracting elements of the willow pattern and blowing it up and distorting it and cropping it and then rearranging it so that these were sort of cut up and
look like a small glance of China.
But I initially started doing that almost years and years ago in the mid-1990s.
Hey, a romantic story about two lovers, you mean this story or this is something?
Yeah, well that's a story that's been imposed upon the design afterwards. I think somebody invented that story. But I suppose it is, this idea that those are some sort of love affair,
How do you think, what will be the next generation of ceramic tiles? We look at the trends. For last years, for example, the market of mosaics became less. The market of something handmade with the different ideas of azulejos from Spain became growing. What's the philosophy of the future, in your opinion? What will be in the next years? What kind of a market will be growing? What kind of the market will be going down? How do you think?
Well, I think you asked the wrong person because I just work in my own little world. I think.
How your own little world changes in these years? What kind of teams? What kind of ideas engaged you, and what kind of ideas are not interesting for you now? Which was interesting before, for example?
Well, I think I have my own little project. So the last couple of years I've been just working, making these lines going all over the place. Just
so graphics, something like this?
Yeah, just playing with this. I could show you some pictures, but I sort of and I just play around with these things, and I think I just mess around with them. I don't think I'm thinking about the industry, but sometimes I make things, and then people like Bardelli or sometimes the design industry, but I suppose they seem to be interested in what I'm making. So I think, okay, that's great because when you make art, you often want an audience, you know. So and then if people want to use it commercially, then I think, well, I'm quite happy to because it's fun, because then you've got bigger, wider audience.
I like this because this is the system, this is the possibility to do something, not to just put the tiles. Usually for interior designer, so this is a special line of the process. You invent something, but someone have to use this.
Whoever buys these tiles, they can be creative themselves, can't they? Because they can turn it any way. They can have any size wall. If you've got a door here, you can make the pattern go around the door. Or if you've got a different wall, you can make it fit. And then you can you can play yourself and switch.
So play.
And so
the key word is to play.
So then it's not just me, the creator. It's the person who buys this. They're also the creator because they're changing it to.
So you have to imagine this person somewhere in the interior who doing things with your project.
Yeah, and then you release it into the world, and then it's not you've got no control anymore. Like Bardelli, they did some things which I wouldn't necessarily have done. But
like a bird, you put this and someone doing this with this.